Welcome to the Creative Play and Podcast Network. Join us as we review our favorite RPGs, collectible card games, MMOs, video games, PC games, and bring up interesting topics and things that we'd like to share with everyone. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Kelly, aka Trixie from Ragnarok and Roll, a Scion to Ragnarok story, and Tilda Wimblewick from D&D Journey of the 5th Edition. First off, I would just like to say thank you to everyone for listening to our varied adventures, as well as for rating us on iTunes and RPGpodcast.com. If you haven't rated us yet, we would greatly appreciate it if you could. And if you're looking for more ways to support our efforts, we are now on Patreon, a great site where you can help us continue making more podcasts, as well as some special surprises for our patrons. If you can, please look us up at www.patreon.com/cppn. Every little bit helps. And again, thank you for listening.
I mean, like, we'll give you more demonstration, but it's very springy. Oh, no, sweet baby chestnut.
Oh, so this is why you aren't allowed a microphone?
Pretty much.
Far away. I mean, I thought I did. I'm sorry, sound people. I want you to know I respect your microphones, but I went to opera school a long time ago, and I'm a lyric soprano, but notoriously, boring. Bravo! Thank you. Good. How is everyone doing? I'm like, I don't want to start too soon because I want everyone to have a chance to get here.
Happy Saturday.
Can you stand up and show off your outfit for us, for those of us who missed the fashion show?
Just because you're so lovely. And I will do a walk in the front, but yes, you have to watch the bus. No, you can't look away. But yeah, please. I mean, I'm like askew in not my normal way.
Your bustle was very lovely today.
Thank you. This is a newer bustle design that I love entirely. Yes, thank you. No, I mean, hey,
I have a little bit of OCD.
we both do. It's why we're good corset makers. So excuse the limp. My shoe literally, like 30 minutes ago, was like, I'm vicious. I'm a German shoe, made for comfort, but not right now. So this it was my purple rain, as I call it, in honor of the late, great Prince of Paisley Park. Bustle. Thank you. Oh no! I mean, I can, but I certainly did not. Went to a lovely place called SAS Fabrics, and I bought their very cheap pleated trim because it was much more cost effective and time effective than pleating my own.
How long will that take you to do that by hand?
Forever. Well, I have what's called a perfect pleater board. So for small pleats on ribbon, it's master, but it's still a very time-consuming process. So to do, I think this is 5 yards around the bottom of my foundation skirt, which would be about 15 yards of ribbon. So, all right, well it is time. Woo! Now, who has met us this weekend? Oh, good, but we have some newcomers.
Oh no.
So we should introduce ourselves.
Okay, we'll introduce ourselves.
So I'm Madame Askew, a time-traveling tea aficionado and essentially a purveyor of explosions of joy and silliness. Also, I make corsets and Victorian-inspired costumes professionally with this wonderful woman.
I am Margie, no last name. That's probably all you need to know right now. I also make corsets and Victoriana and other falderall with Madame Askew. We're very good. We have combined over 40 years of costuming experience.
And we have done costuming, I'd say probably from the 12th century through.
I've made loincloths.
All right,
I've
so
made Star Trek uniforms. And I've made Romulan leisure suits. That was fun.
I did make some Star Trek costumes, and that is delightful. So what we're saying is we've been around the galaxy and time and space.
Or you could just tell everyone we've been around. That's fine too.
But we've been making corsets a very long time, and I would say that we're very passionate about making certain that if you are going to make your own corsets, you at least have the basis of
What you're getting into.
right, and also you have some resources so you're not reinventing the wheel.
And if you're kind of on the fence, hopefully we will give you enough information to decide whether or not you're going to go into your own corset making adventure. And if you decide that this is not the thing for you, then hopefully we will give you enough good information so that you may make an informed decision of which is the right corset for you.
Because, you know, there are many beautiful corsets out there with lovely, flashy fabric on the outside, and they're just like, hello, gorgeous, pet my fabric. I'm going to be a good experience. But it's like that first date that starts out really well, and by the end of the day, you're like, where's my emergency text? I can't believe we're having a conversation. Did you just tell me about Pathfinder again and again for 2 hours? That was a terrible date. Terrible. People looked on me with pity. So, we don't want you to have the pity corset. We want you to have a corset that fits you well, that you enjoy wearing, and that has longevity. And we have a variety of corsets here today.
They don't have one of the cheap ones that you shouldn't buy, which is ridiculous. We should buy a cheap corset that you shouldn't buy so that you can see the difference.
Can't we just get someone to donate their cheap corset, because I hate to give them money.
Goodwill. Some really cheap ones on Amazon for like $20.
No. We have people who have bought the cheap corsets, have had buyer's regret, and then have come to us, and perhaps we'll harvest one of theirs.
Yes. And then next time we do this, we'll bring a cheap corset so we can show you visually why it's a terrible idea. But essentially, should we start out with what is a corset, or are you all familiar with like what makes something a corset and not a waist cincher or a bustier
Or a bodice.
or a bodice?
Who's unclear on the terms? Awesome.
Wonderful. So a corset is going to be a garment that usually runs from hip to either under your breast material or nipple or over. That is meant to provide a smooth silhouette under your clothes or over it in this day and age, and also to provide some shaping. It's kind of like a girdle, only far more comfortable. No, girdles can die in a fire.
I understand how they went from corset to girdle. I haven't worn both, and Spanx are...
No, not the S word. Spanx are horrific. You know, like, I remember a while ago, that I thought, well, I'll get a foundation garment. I'll try those Spanx. They're only $10. And they must be fairly comfortable. They've got to be better than a girdle, which my grandmother taught me to wear to be a proper lady. No, they're worse than a girdle, and they're worse than a corset. I mean, like, so I say worse, but a corset is never going to make you feel like you're being ripped in two.
How many of you have worn control top pantyhose? And how many of you have had that control top roll down your waist and hit you at the top of your Gucci bits? How comfortable is that? Or twist?
Oh, the twist!
A corset will never do that. A good corset will never do that.
Right. If a corset pulls down your body,
There's a problem.
there's a massive problem. So corsets are like the original shapewear, and both men and women wore them. So I'm happy to see some gentlemen here as well.
I was wearing one
We had
earlier.
a marvelous gentleman come in and try a green to peony corset at the booth today. It was spectacular.
Ooh. You know, the thing is, I love a gentleman in a corset because it's like they've put on a military uniform without even knowing it. And honestly, I have a problem with militaria. I kind of love it a lot. Especially when it's walking around on human people.
Have you
But,
seen the gentleman out front? The army men?
Okay then. Awesome.
So, but it's shapewear, and it's primarily meant to smooth your silhouette, but also, in the past, people wore a lot of garments, and some of it was because they were in Northern Europe, which is a place apparently with like perma-snow, and they were never warm. And then there were periods where there was like the end of an ice age, and they were like, look, if we just wear wool everything and drape 10,000 petticoats off of our corset, we'll be just fine. We won't get frostbite and lose our knees.
And then of course there's the time, almost every time period the upper class wore their wealth. It's one of those, look at how much money I have to spend on my clothing.
Yes.
And a lot of that was heavy.
And so, pardon me, the corset also distributes the weight of your clothes so that it's not digging into your waist or dragging on your hips. Pardon me, I drank my water in a way that you're not supposed to. Which is I inhaled it till I breathe at the same time. So they were function garments, and today we use them a lot in fashion. And especially in the steampunk world, we like to wear them on the outside so everyone can see this beautiful garment that you have definitely invested some money in. Like, even inexpensive corsets are not free, generally. Every now and again you'll get a free corset. You should pay attention to who's giving it to you and why. Because, like, sometimes they're cursed. I did give a cursed corset away to a young lady.
Was it green?
It was the green plaid Macbeth
Well,
corset.
apparently giving it away has broken the curse because she wears it famously.
I know, it's amazing. It looks like I made it for her, but for me, it was like it was out to kill me. Like,
It was a never-ending trial.
it was amazing. So every now and again you'll get something like that where somebody's like, oh no, take it, it's free, it's yours. Question them. Lest it roll down your abdomen like Spanx. So, but these days, even an inexpensive corset is not inexpensive, so people like to show them off. And also it's a bit of, I wouldn't say a trial, but it's a commitment to wear one. Because once you put it on, it's not that easy to take it off. It's not like, I don't like this accessory, it's too hot. Or these shoes are pinching a little bit, I'll just change shoes. No, you're looking at like a costume change. So it's a commitment, it's an investment in money.
You want it to be comfortable.
And people want to show them off. So you're seeing them a lot more.
How many have gone to Ren Fair? How many of you have heard, either up close or far away, oh, if it doesn't hurt, it's not tight enough? Well, they're wrong. They're lying to you. Walk away from them.
We do not like that phrase. We also, while enjoying some aspects, have gone with the winds, like the green velvet gown. For its, aesthetic properties, would probably like to stab the scriptwriters repeatedly for the scene where she's holding the bedpost. 17-inch, like, oh, you just had a baby, let's just tighten it up.
Yes. Okay. So we're kind of here to talk about tips and trades and things like that. We've got a number of corsets. Most of the corsetry that we make right now are Victoriana, that has the hourglass shape. It comes up over, the modern ones come up over, so you can wear it as outerwear without too much underneath it. I have a example of a Tudor corset. For those of you who don't know Tudor, that's King Henry VIII.
And sometimes in the literature it's called a pair of bodies.
Yes.
And again, it's the same function, but a very different silhouette.
So a lot of people, even in their Elizabethan Tudor corsets, go ahead and do front busk and lace up the back because it's much more convenient. Typically, in the time period, it's a back lace corset, so you have to fully lace and unlace every time.
Depending on your class, but we're talking about what's going to work for you and look pretty, not historical reenactment. If you want historical reenactment information, we have made historically accurate undergarments. We can answer those questions, but
for this panel, that's just going to be a survey.
right.
So this is a Victorian Elizabethan Tudor corset. Yes.
Thank you.
And this is basically, the center is the front. You can see it's pretty much flat across the top, so it basically grazes your nipples. It's designed, let me fold this, to take all of the gentle curves that God graced a woman and smash them into an inverted triangle cylinder.
Yes, and then you put a Spanish farthingale on it, and watch
And then you
out
have
for
the
those.
other triangle on the inside, and then you have this really like Black Widow hourglass shape instead of the Southern Belle hourglass shape that to my modern eyes is more graceful. Okay?
But doesn't that really push everything in?
Hold on.
Fully in?
Just I did not tight lace today because I've been on the sales floor all day. So we're going to pretend that this is flat. What this corset tends to do is it tends to do this. Okay.
Right, so it's trying to make you a cylinder. So
Here, I'll
yes,
step to the side.
it
I know I'm
does.
short.
It does push everything sort of more smashed. But if it is ever uncomfortable, if you put on a corset, we're going to stress that over and over again, all right? Because it's very important. If it hurts, it is not fitted properly.
Or laced properly.
There
Or
are-
made properly.
Right. It's
One of those.
One of those.
Or more.
Sometimes all three.
Yes.
Sometimes 2 out of 3. But it's not you, it's the garment. And sometimes people will be like, no, hurting is all right. No. People actually used to wear these all day, every day, and live active, full lives. They could not take out ribs. No, they did not. They could not be in pain and suffering. Even the fashion plates had to live. So if your corset hurts, there's a problem, not you.
Correct.
All right. So the Tudor corset makes that cylinder. Yes, it smashes. So if you go to like the Ren Fair, you'll see lovely people in the bodices, and they have sort of that more cylindrical shape, and like the Wenchy smash, and it's charming and it's good for tankards and all of that. And it's just a different look, and that you go forward, and the shape of corsets changes with the era and the silhouette they want to create. So we are going to focus mostly on like Victorian inspired steampunk corsets. So we're not going to focus too much on the sort of change through the centuries to that shape. But suffice it to say, silhouettes change, and so the undergarments change to support them. Much as undergarments change today. When I was young, there were much different undergarments because we wore mom jeans. And now jeans ride lower on the hip, so mom undergarments don't work with those.
The waistline's rising again, though.
Is it?
This is
I don't keep up.
this is a Victorian silhouette. I'm going to go ahead and pass this around in quick succession so you can actually see what the difference is. Go ahead and turn it inside out, blah, blah, blah. And then we'll kind of go through some of the differences and options as we talk. On this blue and teal one that's going to come around, if you open it up, there's a yellow waist tape, and we'll talk about what that does for that corset.
Right, and we will be watching, so no matter how much you love these, remember we actually wear them. We've bled in them, we've cried in them, we're close to them, we'll want them back. We'll track you down with Godzilla. When you're done, pass them up forward. So, the Victorian silhouette, though, is really emphasizing the Gesundheit, darling. Watch out for the lemons. It's really emphasizing that graceful hourglass. And part of the way you create that is the cut of your corset. Now, in terms of base patterns, if you are looking to make your own, we really love the truly Victorian corset pattern. It will run you, if you want to do a historically accurate garment, it will go from like just before the Civil War all the way through most of the 19th century with all of those garments just fine. It's a very functional corset, and personally I love the basic way it fits even before you alter it for custom tailoring. We've also used the Laughing Moon Mercantile corsets, and that company has a packet that has 2 different styles of corsets, and they're very nice to work with, but I like the instructions for Truly Vic a little bit more. Those are online companies. If you decide you want to try like a simplicity corset or a butterick,
Just don't do it.
well, I mean, I don't actually recommend it. They're drafted to have ease, which means they're actually drafted to be loose, which doesn't work well in corsets because you want them to be snug. So if you do get a simplicity or butterick corset and you're like, I have 99 cents, I want to make a corset, I'm just going to give it a try, size down. You know, instead of your normal size in that pattern. In fact, you know how it works with pattern companies and you like look at the pattern size and it's not your dress size because you have to follow the measurements instead. Just buy your dress size instead because pattern sizes are already always like measurements are small compared to what we get off the rack. And then you will get away from that ease issue. You do not want 4 inches of ease in your corset. It will hang on you and then you'll be like,
And it'll twist.
yes. It'll be worse than rolling down your torso.
At this point, I also want to say, do not try to make a corset as the first garment you've ever made. I mean, this seems like a well done moment, but I liken it to running the Boston Marathon. If you are not already in training, you're not going to wake up tomorrow and say, I'm going to run a marathon next weekend. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
But you could totally run around the block a few times.
Yeah, you could start training and eventually you get to the marathon, but you need at least, I would say, a moderate skill set before you tackle a corset. It's not difficult per se, but it takes precision.
So practice is key, and the other thing is that you're just basically sewing straight lines everywhere, but you need to be able to do some tricky things with fitting, and that's where a lot of skill comes in, and you must be comfortable with like always finding the grain on your fabric. You can see it maybe better in this one. This is an ancient corset. For those of you who've seen me this weekend previously, I've worn it for the last 2 days for, more than 12 hours a day. I lost track, really. I made this corset almost 5 years ago, so it has been through that kind of rugged wear for years now. but it's made of coutil, and that is like fabric that is created just for corsetry, basically, because it's strong but light.
Yeah, sometimes it's called corseting.
Yes. Yes, but I mean, these days you can find it frequently as coutil, which is coutil. But this coutil has a herringbone pattern in it, so it's really easy to see where the grain is, and so you have to follow the grain on your corset pieces. If you are cutting your corset piece on the bias, on the diagonal, it will have stretch to it.
So this is against the weft. This is against the warp.
Yes,
Warp. Words are hard. And this is the diagonal.
that's the bias. And see how it stretches even though it's not like spandex. So you want to make sure, yes, madam.
It doesn't matter whether you're doing weft or warp, just as long as it's on a straight grain.
It should be vertical.
Right, I mean,
Parallel to the, or perpendicular to the selvage edge. Or
Yeah, parallel to the selvage.
so you could probably get away with doing the other, but the fabric is made to be cut in that direction.
We'll also give you our primary supplier name. She does retail work too.
Yes,
So-
and she's lovely. She is in LA. She ships very quickly, and her prices are some of the best on the market. Her name is Lois, and she owns Richard the Thread, which is awesome. I know. It's like when we first started ordering from her, I was like, oh, Richard the Thread, probably owned by someone named Richard. No, Lois. Lois owns it. She's a beautiful, delightful woman, and she's really happy to answer questions over the phone about her stock. And she has a really good selection of corset supplies. Corset making supplies, I should say. So I'm going to pass around my poor, delightful, abused red and black beauty. And you can look at the coutil inside, and since it's cream, you can really see the herringbone pattern.
And I want to show no waist tape, okay?
Right. This is a 2-layer coutil corset with a cotton outer fabric, because I wanted red and black. And we use spiral steel bones rather than the flat white spring steel bones.
Yeah, let me do a quick demo. The teal one that's going around has the flat steel bones.
Yes.
This has the spiral steel. Now both bones will flex this way. The spiral steel bones will flex this way.
Which means you can move front and back and side to side.
That one won't bend in that direction.
There's a little bit of damage on the inside of one where the boning is on the inside at one point, and you can actually see the steel.
Yes. That
Oh,
corset is
yeah.
what, 20 years old,
This
aren't
is a
you?
20-year-old corset.
No, I was just saying that you can actually.
Yeah, so this is a flat steel bone right here.
And you can also feel the weight of the
I don't want steel getting into my body.
No.
So some people will make corsets out of canvas or duck, which is a cheaper alternative, and it will work, although the canvas and duck will stretch out of shape over time more quickly. But it's much heavier than the coutil. It's also rougher. So coutil is light and strong, and it's not going to stretch out. Yes, madam.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, is that, I read online that duck fabric can be a substitution for coutil, because coutil can be kind of on the pricey side.
It is a bit spendy.
Yeah, but generally, especially if you're making a corset for yourself, you can do your fashion fabric, a layer of canvas, a layer of coutil. When you do it that way, I highly recommend that you put the coutil next to the layer that's going to be next to your skin, because it's a kinder material than canvas or duck.
Now, it will be heavier than a pure coutil corset, And you can make completely canvas corsets. You really can.
Use a waist tape.
That's a really good idea because that's where it's going to stretch the most. And the point of the waist tape is to prevent it from stretching out of shape at your waist. Because that's where it's at the most tension. Yes, madam.
What is the couture made? Is it a cotton?
It's cotton.
Cotton.
It's a tightly woven double herringbone weave cotton, or tightly spun double herringbone.
Yes, madam.
Okay, so I've worked with straight steel bones before, forever ago. But how do you cap spiral steel?
The same way. Actually,
Well,
Actually,
You
no, you
use
don't
dipping
dip.
fluid.
They have these,
Oh.
they have
They
these
have-
little U-tips.
we
Okay.
have dipped it though.
We
into
have
the-
dipped
can
it,
dip.
and I don't like
Yeah.
it. I don't like dipping my bones.
With the
I mean,
Some
Sort of
people
safer.
really enjoy dipping their bones.
I first spiral steel.
so what we found about
They're quite
using tool dip
expensive.
on our spiral
What
steel.
Oh
No,
my
it was,
gosh, I
it
love
was
the way that
fine. But I'm trying not to lose it. So,
Well, last night wasn't enough
Oh my
scratch
God.
finish for you?
Awesome.
so the tool dip will work, but it's bulky, and spiral bones are already thicker than the flat spring steel bones. And so you add that bulk onto them, and they're hard.
Isn't that beautiful?
Dear sweet Tessa.
There's some spiders in
I
here.
mean, it's
They're difficult
It is difficult.
to get them into
It's
the
beautiful.
channels you've sewn for your stays.
6 foot 5 years old. And when
Bones are also called stays, and to the rest of this panel,
We will refer to them as stays.
I'm so sorry. It's actually very hard to talk about corsetry without sounding a little frisky. So we aren't intending to do it.
Well, the other thing about spiral bones and our corset supplier is if you know how long you need your bones, she will cut them and cap them for you. Pre-cut, pre-capped spiral steel bone stays are the most expensive way to buy stays. We buy the spiral steel in rolls because we make a lot of corsets all the time.
But if you are just doing one corset, you're just making one off, and you don't know if you're ever going to make another one again, I wouldn't invest
In a
a whole roll.
25-yard roll of spiral steel bones, I would get the pre-cut ones.
So I'm a large lady, and most of my corsets are like 20 to 24 bones.
Stays.
And so you're not spending that much if you get pre-cut. Yes, madam.
While it's in my hand, I noticed you have these cool hooks.
We'll get to
with
the
these
busk.
eyes.
The busk!
Okay.
The busk! Our friend the busk. Sometimes the most intimidating part of a Victorian corset.
Actually, for someone who's never inserted a busk before, this is probably going to be your most challenging part of creating your corset. It takes, if you notice in our corsets, it's top stitched along the edge of the bust point.
Except for this one, which I will pass around. This beauty, this poor dear corset. Well, hello, sweetie. This poor dear corset has been through the races, literally, and it's really abused. But where was I going?
Top stitching.
Top stitching. It does not have the top stitching by the edge. And you can see probably where the stitching in the front seam along the busk is starting to come out. That is a fail point that we have discovered with corsets and the bust if you're wearing them a lot. And so something we do that we don't necessarily see a lot of people do is we top stitch that edge as a reinforcement. It's not necessary, but
And this top stitching happens after the busk goes in, so you need to be incredibly careful with your needle.
right, because needles will not go through steel. Yes.
I've been on a lot of corset panels this weekend, and so I just thought I'd bring this up because maybe there's some people in the room I worked at a costume shop. If we were going to be sewing with boning, we had to wear glasses. Even if they were actor glasses or anything.
No, I always
protection.
wear glasses. These are safety glasses. But yes, if you're going to really any kind of powerful machinery, you should wear something safety, because even in normal sewing, if that needle breaks in 3 pieces, that middle piece is going to go flying in some direction. I've actually been cut on the face with a shattered needle right here, which is why I started wearing glasses most of the time.
So I do wear glasses when I'm not Madame Askew, and I'm nearsighted, but I like them for the sewing. You don't need like the serious safety goggles like you might wear in the welding shop.
Protect your eyes.
But
I used a pair of actor's glasses.
perfect. But the truth is that in a sewing workshop, the more advanced your sewing, the more dangerous it becomes. There are lots of sharp implements. We use razor blades to, see.
Hammers, chisels, punches, awls.
I love my needle pointed awl. It is like my special tool.
I did shove that all the way through the fleshy part of my thumb one day.
How?
I did try and cut off part of my thumb and thumbnail with a rotary cutter. So
we kind of have a phrase. Yeah, we kind of have a phrase in our workshop. Basically, if you follow either of us on our personal page or on Madame Askew page, if you ever see the phrase "and now it's a project," it means blood has been shed.
So damage can happen, but with bones, with stays, you are at an increased risk of possibly shattering a needle, and you don't know how that needle will shatter, so it could just should break off and go to the side, or it could fly at your eye. So glasses are not a bad idea, but you don't have to worry about toxic chemical burns.
Okay, I'm going to start passing around my
The
Japanese obi style with the cheater obi bow. So this is designed to go in a kimono. If you saw the fashion show last year, I was wearing it. Because it has a smooth front, it is simply a backless corset, which means it has to be completely laced and unlaced every time it goes on, which is why we have the busk, because you can have the back laced, loosen it, unbusk, rebusk, and then tie. It's much faster. If you have to lace this each and every time, you're just going to quit.
Right,
Okay.
because when we're making a corset, there's a lot of time-consuming parts of making a corset, but that final phase, and you have everything tied together, sewn up, and you're like, oh, now I've got to spend 30 minutes running this lace in and out of the back. You don't really want to do that every time you're putting on the corset. And the Victorian ladies also decided they did not want to do that every time they were putting on a corset. Advances in the way steel was milled and prepared, different technology allowed them to develop busks in the 19th century that were opening busks. So there was always usually something in the front of a pair of bodies or a corset. In the Tudor era, it was like bone or wood. Was very common. And it's partly because this is a place where you need a lot of support. And having that thicker, stronger support there will help support the silhouette you're going for. But the Victorians decided to take that and make it something that could buckle and unbuckle and speed up the process of getting dressed and undressed. And so busks are really a convenience factor. They are tricky to learn to put in, but they're not impossible. They're very intimidating looking. But there's a great tutorial online by historicalsewing.com. A lady named Jennifer Rossborough produced it. She owns that website. And she shows you how to put in the hard part of the bust. And she talks about how to do the other side, the easier side. So the really challenging part is usually the little part with these brads that stick out. You're already holding some corsets that have busts. So the little knots on top are sort of the challenging part to put in. And then she talks about inserting what we call the hooks, the other side. And yes, there's a right and wrong side for these. They are meant to be hooks on the right and brads on the left. But really, if you reverse it when you're making your corset, no one will know. It's not the end of the world, yes.
Is that available locally, or is that a specialty item?
The bust?
The bust.
Yeah, all of our supplies pretty much have to be ordered from LA or New York or Canada.
Germany.
Germany. There's also a supplier out of, I think, like St. Louis or someplace east of the Mississippi.
But California, it's cheaper to ship from California.
Right.
Before I start passing this around, this is the fashion fabric, canvas, and coutil. You can see that it's going to be a little bit stiffer than the red and black. That's fashion fabric in 2 layers of coutil.
Yes, let me get yours, madam.
The spiral boning versus the streusel boning, it feels like the spiral boning would be a lot more comfortable because it bends in every direction. But
It is.
Is there, why aren't they all made like that? Is there like a reason why you might not want to do that?
They're not that vastly different in expense. The flat steels and the spirals, like 2 cents a bone difference. So
I was actually thinking versus the spiral or the steel versus the plastic.
Oh, the plastic. We'll
Yes,
get
I
there.
know it's a bad word, I'm sorry.
We'll get to the plastic.
Oh, yes, we will.
But the difference for us is that it's more comfortable. We like that. Some people like a more rigid corset. They just prefer the feel. Sometimes it comes down to personal preference.
Well, the spiral, it will feel not.
It just
roll
goes
up
right
and
into
stuff.
the back.
No.
It's awesome.
The regular is
No.
how it feels. but
You know,
It just
that's
feels
not
that
really
way.
cheating, but people in Japan do that shit all the time.
It still won't, collapse. It will do this, but it won't collapse.
And it won't roll.
It won't roll. It will do this. It'll do this, but it's not gonna
Won't go plunk.
you have to work it to make it roll. Now I can do that poor corset. It's been through a lot with me, but it won't do that naturally. Yes.
Busts, can you order, do they have to be ordered cut to size?
They
Or
cut-
can you, is there like a standard size?
It's a standard size. I guess you could cut them, but we tried once, and it's like
No, it's terrible. Basically, also sizing your stays and your busk.
yes.
If you remember on the corsets, there is binding on the top and the bottom. That is cut on the bias, and sometimes they scream, "I will never make my own bias tape again." I always do. It's a lie if I say that.
We do it every time.
Yes, I've mostly learned not to say that. The width that we use is a 1/2 inch. So we want our stays to be 1 inch and a scooch shorter than the vertical length, because again, the needle won't go through steel.
But the other thing is, if you have your stays right up against your stitches, eventually that metal, even if it's capped, will wear at your stitches, and it will wear through your stitches. Now, it could be possible to repair it depending on how it's worn through, but you just spent, 20 to 30 hours making a corset. How many repairs do you want to do on it? Fewer is better.
Yeah, so I usually counsel people to order their stays 1 1/4 to 1 1.5 inches shorter than the length of their corset, because you want that seam binding, you want that binding space, and then you want a scooch more on the top and the bottom.
And the way you know the length of the stays you're going to buy is because you make a mock-up before you make your corset. I am a lazy seamstress. I do things as easily as possible. I want it quick, I want it now. I want to wear it.
I don't pin seams.
No, we don't pin.
I don't pin anymore.
No, I only pin for pattern matching.
I've already seen it.
So, we're going for speed, and we always make a mock-up. That is not a step you can skip. No matter what you think, that your measurements are good, that the pattern is great, that you've made it before and your body hasn't shifted, you must make a mock-up. I mean, must is a strong word. You may make your own choices as grown-up people. I highly recommend it. And then you measure your mock-up once you're done and you've got the fit you like, and you'll know how many stays you need and also the length of the stays you need. So if you're not cutting your own stays, then you'll know what to measure for. And also you need that for choosing the length of your busk. So a busk is going to go, so you can see, I think you can see, it goes a little bit below the top of your corset, and this one is approximately 1/2 inch below my binding, right? And it's going to go over your belly button and just an inch or two lower than your belly button. And the reason you don't want it much longer than that is because I suspect you would like to sit. If you
Jab
make it
you
too
somewhere.
long, it's going to stab you every time you sit.
Ow.
Which is, ow is the right answer. Not fun. No one likes to be
I mean, if you're
stabbed
lucky,
when they sit.
if you're lucky, ooh!
It don't
But
sound
that's
like
not
that
a
one.
good ooh-hoo.
No, it's
It's not a good ooh-hoo.
So,
Didn't sound good either.
so that's part of why you want that mock-up. It helps you measure a lot of things.
When you're fitting your mock-up, it helps to have a friend fit you. You can fit yourself, but having a friend fit you is a much, much less aggravating process.
Right, and if you are going to fit your own, you want a really large mirror. And be careful with your pins. So, and usually what we do is we just fit one side because most people are symmetrical. Ish enough. But we have had a couple of clients with scoliosis and other, issues like that, and then you have, if you know that about yourself, if you know your body is not symmetrical, then you have to fit both sides independently.
You actually have to fit both sides of the corset, but then you only use one side of the corset to make your final pattern with.
Yeah, right. It's a good rule of thumb. So, and the thing about the couture and the expense, you don't actually need that much. Like there's a lot of me. It takes like about a yard of couture for me to make a 2-layer couture corset.
What material do you use for the mock-up then?
Canvas.
Yeah, something without much stretch, denim,
Yeah.
canvas, duck.
Muslin wouldn't work if it's too
Muslin.
No, you want something with enough body, so it kind of gives you the illusion that you're already wearing a corset.
Right, and it's just, you don't want something that you're going to put on and you're going to be like, oh, I need to fit this, and you're able to like stretch it when you're fitting, right?
Also, when you're fitting, go ahead and put the seams on the outside,
Yes.
because that way you can just pinch.
It's a lot
Yeah, I
easier to
see.
fit. And that's true about any garment markup you do. If you put your seams on the outside, it'll be easier.
Oh, we have 15 minutes.
15 minutes. So, plastic boning, real
Yeah,
quick.
let's do plastic boning. Don't use it.
It breaks.
And the reasons why is that we're in a place, well, all places really, body heat will warp your plastic boning. It will reshape every time you wear it, and it will kind of.
Because the plastic boning that you get, Joanne, the ridge line, the featherweight, those are the most common types of plastic boning available. It's a low temperature melt plastic. And how warm are we?
Oh, 118.
96 to 98 degrees.
Okay, well, and how warm is it outside in Phoenix today?
107.
Okay, so when that plastic gets to that temperature, it will soften, and it will warp, and it will mold, and it will poke, and then you go, oh my God, I hate this, and you take it off, and you throw it into the corner, and it will harden in that shape,
And when you wear it again, it's going to warp again, but it's not going to like warp back into your shape. It will
It will
do
retain
whatever
some of
it
that
wants.
memory, and it'll soften, and it'll warp, and you go, my God, I hate this. And you'll throw it into a corner, and it'll harden in that shape.
So some people like cable ties. They're cheap. They're readily available. You can get them at your Ace Hardware. They have more longevity than, say, the Ridgeline, but they will still eventually give to your body heat and the heat of the environment. Now, personally, if I just spent 30 hours on a garment, and at cheapest, I'm spending a lot of money on the materials, I am not going to skimp on something that, is costing me 20 cents a bone. All right? Now, remember I said like 20 to 24 bones? That's not a lot of money.
We're not saying stays anymore.
Oh, sorry.
We don't expect you to.
Person.
I think we're mostly safe now. Okay.
All right. So, I think we covered like the broad basics. As you can see, there's like a lot of information that we could go over. But there were some more hands, and we want to address your specific questions. So, you and the new madam.
When I'm assuming you fit with the seams out with your clients as well.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Have you ever had them look at you weird when you do that?
No, because we explain what we're doing. We
Okay.
don't just like throw it on them and start doing it.
The entire process for us is very hands-on, very knowledgeable. We educate as we do this. We tell people what we're doing to them because sometimes it's very handsy.
That's true. Like, if you are helping a friend and making them a corset, just understand that, like,
You will become a much more intimate friend in the process than you were at the beginning.
and it's no good being coy about it because you need to be able to really mold it to their physical shape.
So that means getting really close and just
Yeah.
you can't be shy. They can't be tentative.
When you are doing the fitting, however, we highly recommend wearing a bra that fits you well. Not just a bra you love because it's cute and it has polka dots and puppies.
Especially a bra that puts them where you want them.
That's very important. And so getting a good bra fitting before you get your corset can be critical. Sometimes we have that conversation with clients like, your bra is really lovely, but it's not really fitting you that well, and we send them to some bra manufacturers that we know, or bra suppliers that we know.
We specialize in challenging figures.
Right. We have a client who has an L cup. I'm a double G cup. It's like, you don't really find that in Dillard's.
Barely find it like mine either.
I don't go to that place for bras. They don't fit you.
No, they don't. They don't know how.
No, they don't. So there is, we don't know his name, but there's a really great bra supplier here in Phoenix. CC's, all right, thank you. CC's can measure you and get you into the right.
Yeah, I don't know if that's CECE or CC, but it's CC's, like belonging to CC.
All right. And then in Tucson, we like Alice Ray's a lot.
You said
because
what?
Alice Ray's. Because they also will measure you, they will fit you into a good bra, and they go from like A to Z in the bra size. Yes.
They're wonderful.
They are wonderful.
Just a word of caution about it's not really a word of caution. It's a word of be prepared. You're going to be touched all over by this dude because he wants you to have the bra that fits you. It's nothing personal. He handles tatas every day of his life.
And it's much like visiting a corset maker.
And it's much like visiting a corset maker.
We too are handsy.
Yes.
You had your hand up.
Is there a book or anything particular that you can pick up that'll help you?
There are a lot of online resources and tutorials now. I do really love the historical sewing. Jennifer has a lot of great resources and information that she shares.
Okay.
And she teaches online classes.
Okay.
We we'll teach you how to make a corset if you can come to Tucson and schedule appointments with us. Barring that, you can email us, and within reason, we will answer your questions. If it's like a 5-hour discussion, we're probably going to be like, could we have tea?
The other thing, well, yeah,
Could we
the
meet
other
in
thing
person?
that
Tucson and back in that time.
well, no,
Right,
the
yeah.
other thing that we have contemplated in the past is if there are enough people in the Phoenix area that want to do a workshop, we will come up.
Right. But, I mean, it's like an 8-week workshop because you want to go from beginning to end. And I mean, it's not every day. There's like once a week you meet and you work on your part at home and you come back and then we work some steps and you finish at home. So, you know, for us it doesn't necessarily take us 8 weeks to like do every part of a corset, but it's typical 8 to 12 weeks to go from fitting to completed corset, just given like modern schedules. So a corset is a big time commitment, and learning to make them is as well. But once you've got the skills, you've got them, right? And as I said, we're happy to answer the questions we can via emails or through our Facebook pages, so you can find Madam Askew easily on Facebook. We are not trying to hide what we do because we haven't invented corsets. There's not a trademark on this. It's a skill like any other, and we'd really rather you not reinvent the wheel. I mean, it just doesn't seem kind.
No.
So, any other questions? They're having a good time, but I hope you're riveted by our ties. Yes, you and the new
Question
member.
about the obi that you made.
Uh-huh.
How? It looks like you put a hanger in there.
I did, because basically in Japan,
That's a lot of fabric to wrap around.
well, kind of on the, I'm gonna
Yeah.
vector off a little bit. So basically, an obi, a very formal obi can be anywhere from 9 to 12 yards of fabric. And in Japan, in modern days, women can mostly only tie 2 bows. The really spiffy ones can tie three for because this is 6, 3. And so if you have a special occasion that you want a super fancy obi bow, or there's other things going on, women go to professional dressers. It's kind of like going to the beauty salon to get your hair and makeup done for your wedding. So they go to special dressers, and they're expensive. It's a highly skilled, highly in demand occupation that not a lot of people are doing these days. So this type of obi is actually totally legit, where you have an obi and you have this little thing, and the body band is like 3 or 4 rounds of the obi that then tie, and you tuck in the ties so no one sees it, and then you take this little hangery thing and you just stick it in the back, and then you're done.
It's a quick and easy way. So,
And it's completely legit.
yeah.
I mean, not to like reference the movie, but I did see the Memoirs of a Geisha movie. Watching those ladies get dressed, that was like 2 hours of work.
In Kyoto, there's places where you can dress up for like a geisha for a couple of hours. They do the whole shipping, they put the makeup on, they do a photo
The
shoot,
wax in the hair,
and then they let you wander around Gion District and all of that shit by yourself. They don't like follow you. They just let you wander around in a $30,000 obi or kimono set for like.
silk, right?
It is silk.
Oh yeah, no.
And isn't it some of it is like
Hand embroidered.
hand embroidered silk?
Yeah, no,
And
absolutely.
they let you leave
And they don't follow you around.
without like cards and low
They're like a
jack
deposit
and.
Right,
on a credit card.
exactly. Well, you don't carry your modern purse with that because that's gross. And they don't wax your hair. They have these, I'm sorry, this is not corsetry, but they have these wigs that they put on, and what they do is they comb your hairline down and put the wig on, and they actually tie it to your hair so it doesn't move. And then they take your own hairline and comb it back into the wig, and if you don't have lovely dark hair like the Japanese women do, they have it and so it's your own hairline in that glorious updo with all the tchotchkes and blah. It's awesome.
And no wax.
And I highly recommend the experience if you're in Kyoto. Back to Corsets.
One last question, because we're almost out of time. Yes, madam.
Body shaping. Do you
Yes.
have any, or body training, shape training, whatever it's
Waist
called?
training.
Waist training. Do you have any resources for that? That seems like something would be really interesting.
Yes, and I would suggest actually that we talk offline about that outside of this panel,
Rock on.
because it's like a bigger discussion that we probably have time for right now.
Yeah, we'll be like right outside for any follow-up questions or any questions of a more sensitive nature.
Yes.
Okay, so that wasn't really a question we could answer.
Sorry.
No,
Oh.
I talk with my hands.
Well,
All right,
because you
yes.
said
You and
this
then you.
is 6. This is 3.
Oh, I sign a tiny bit.
Okay.
Or you speak German. What
Okay,
are
thank
your
you.
recommendations?
Or I'm European.
For grommets? Yes. Well, first of all, use grommets, not eyelets.
Use the two-part grommets.
Right. Do not let Joanne's tell you that there's no such thing as grommets, and eyelets here are only option.
Because there's also a special item, order item.
You can buy them. You can buy grommets at Tandy Leather.
Yes.
You can buy them at some of Paul Street stores.
And get the hammer and anvil center. Don't get the pliers. You'll cry.
No.
Yeah.
Say no to
You just
pliers.
have to your hands are like this.
Right. It's no good. So we like the double zeros, double odds, but the zeros is also good.
Yeah. And
You can add something to help them.
Right. So the waist tape is really good if you have like a fabric you think might stretch. It's also good if you're waist training, which is part of the longer discussion. Now, our pure couture corsets are strong enough to waist train without a waist tape. But waist tape is a nice reinforcement. If you're using canvas, you must have a waist tape because it will give. Yes.
At Harbor Freight, you can get like a little 15-pound mini anvils, which are great. That's what we use when we do grommets for our houses.
Yeah, when we grommet an anvil, we either do it outside on the concrete on the corner of the table with fabric underneath it. On the left, don't try to pound on the middle of the table. Be sure to pound on the corner on the left.
Because you want that added strength of the leg under you, because you're beating it rather hard.
And if you pound in the middle, it just bounces.
So,
It's good for some things, but not others.
So I think that is all. We do have business cards.
I can't help it as always.
I'm going to leave those with Mistress Margie. I have to run very quickly.
do one more done.
I will be right back.
Me and Sarah are gonna have,
business cards. Okay.
We're gonna
And I will go right outside.
Hey gamers, Jim here from Creative Play and Podcast Network. If you're in the Tucson area this September and October, I've got a special message for you. Hey, this is Karen from RinCon. We are having our convention from September 30th through October 2nd here in Tucson, Arizona. Come out and play every kind of game under the sun with us. We've got role-playing, board games, minifigs, CCGs, we've got Artemis, we have panels with special guests, and this year the theme is steampunk. So get out your, dust off your dirigibles, get out your chapeaus and put them on, come on down. Thank you for listening to the Creative Play and Podcast Network. And feel free to enjoy our other shows, such as D&D Journey of the 5th Edition, and Scion Ragnarok and Roll, a Scion hero to Ragnarok story. Thank you for listening.